and they simply look like familiar products, and that is why people fake products. It's much easier for an entrepreneur to begin a line of fake products rather than create and devise their own original line, which will take years to market, years to become known, years to make money. What is the best way to avoid using fake products? Firstly, go for the products that are made in Kenya. Kenya has very many good companies that are making good products, big, large organizations that are based here. You can even go to their factories and look for the original products from that organization and buy from there. Others have their own online shop, which is branded, and you can tell that this is an online shop from the original company. Other ways are to do your research, use the QR scan code, although these days that has sort of proved to be a bit unreliable, but it still helps. And otherwise, shop in the right places, open your eyes and your ears, and you will be able to tell whether the products you're using are good, healthy, original products or not. But try to avoid using fakes as much as possible. This is Self-Care Tips, and we ask you to keep watching for more information.
To get the pit as your skis are tuned, dial *811 *397#.
You may be in the pit. You do not see how you could get out. But the good news is that you do not have to get by yourself. The Most High God is about to lift you out. He's about to turn the medical report. He's about to free you. He's about to open new doors, bringing new opportunities, new relationships. The pit is not your destination. Get ready to rise.
To get the pit, dial *811 *397#. *811 *397#.
Familia nyingi zimeathirika na hata mara nyingine kupoteza wapendwa wao kutokana na aina za majiko zinazotumia kuni nyingi na kutoa moshi nyingi. Lakini sasa kuna suluhisho kupitia kwa super jiko. Majiko ya kisasa yanayotumia kuni kidogo na kutoa moshi kidogo. Hivyo hutunza familia yako kutokana na magonjwa yanayoletwa na moshi. Kwa kutumia kuni kidogo pia tuna save mazingira yetu. Siri ni kuwa majiko haya ya kisasa yametengenezwa kwa lea nono ya udongo ili kuzuia kupoteza joto, uhifadhi joto jingi na hivyo upika kwa haraka. Kuna aina nyingi ya majiko haya ya kisasa. Waweza kujengewa jikoni mwako au waweza kununua. Usibahatishe.
Super Jiko, upishi smart na salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Kawi na washirika wenza.
Life is about balance, about give and take. And forests give us so much. They purify our water. They clean our air. They fight climate change by capturing carbon. They give us food, life-saving medicines, and they improve our well-being. But our forests are vulnerable. They are endangered by fires, pests, droughts, and other threats. That is why we need to look after them. We need to give, not only take. Healthy forests for healthy people.
Hello from wherever you're watching us in South Africa, in Kenya, and around the world. You are in time for KBC Prime Edition. 2 African states, 2 large-scale protests, yet 2 different styles of protesting and also policing. Good evening, my name is Mboya. Top in this live broadcast.
And as we enjoy our rights as individuals, we must be careful also to ensure that we don't trample on the rights of others.
Kenya will be led by the rule of law, asserts President William Ruto. Brace for more protests? Opposition leader Raila Odinga says they will hold weekly protests each Monday. Troubled North. Residents of Baringo protest continued spates of attacks amid security operation. Continental unrest protests witnessed in 4 countries in Africa. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Our sign language tonight is Lensa Odingo. Our socials at KBC Channel 1 and my Twitter handle at Mboya. Our top story now. President William Ruto has said that he will not condone impunity in the country. Speaking on Monday at State House Nairobi, where he witnessed the swearing-in of Solicitor General Shadrach Mose, the president further insisted that no one is above the law. He, at the same time, said that he was confident that the new Solicitor General will offer leadership based on his experience, knowledge, and understanding the law. The president urged Mose to ensure that the government gets the best legal representation at all stages.
And as we enjoy our rights as individuals, we must be careful also to ensure that we don't trample on the rights of others. And the cardinal principle is that as a country that believes in the rule of law, there is no greater or lesser person. None of us is above the law. I'm confident that you are adequately prepared to work in the office of the Solicitor General, to provide leadership, and to ensure that the government of Kenya gets the legal advice, guidance, and support that is necessary for the government of Kenya to discharge its responsibilities as required by the Constitution and the laws of Kenya.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has urged Kenyans to ignore calls by the opposition for the weekly demonstrations ostensibly to push the government to bring down the high cost of living. The second in command said that the disruption of businesses had cost the country almost 2 billion shillings by Monday in the afternoon. Sarafina Robi with the details.
As Azimio la Umoja wa Kenya Coalition kicked off a series of countrywide mass action. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua castigated the demonstrations, quantifying the loss courtesy of the protest to almost 2 billion shillings.
As a result, this morning, because of lack of business in the CBD, the country has lost almost 2 billion shillings in terms of business. And this is money that should have been circulating in the economy. And we want to ask the organizers to consider this afternoon to call off the mayhem and the chaos so that those who did not open their businesses and shops can go back to work this afternoon.
Rigathi, while assuring Kenyans of the president's firm stand to ensure security is beefed up, urged Kenyans to ignore calls for weekly demos.
But I want to assure the people of Kenya that President William Ruto has given very firm and clear instructions to the Inspector General of Police to protect life and property.
The deputy president accused Azimio leader Raila Odinga and his colleagues of exposing other people's children to danger while their children were safe in other countries.
They cannot ask the children of poor people to get involved in violence when their own children are in safety in the East African Legislative Assembly in Arusha. It is not fair, it is not right. If they are so persuaded that people need to go to the streets and cause chaos and mayhem, they should ask their children to be in the forefront.
The Deputy President made the remarks while in Mombasa, flagging off the distribution of 25,000 metric tons of wheat from the United Kingdom through the World Food Programme. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Meanwhile, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga has reaffirmed that the coalition will hold demonstrations every Monday until such a time when government heeds to their calls to reopen the IEBC server as well as to lower the cost of living in the country. Odinga, who addressed his supporters in various parts of Nairobi after being barred from the city centre, also accused government of tribalism and corruption. Gishuki Washira is with that report.
The long-awaited 20th March demonstration came to fruition on Monday as Azimio la Umoja and its supporters carried out protests to push the government to meet their demands.
Leo ilikuwa ni likizo, lakini ni kionjo. Mambo bado. Waoga wanarushia tear gas, lakini hatujali. Tutakomboa.
After being held at Serena Hotel in the morning, as the protests continued in various parts of the country, Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga emerged in the afternoon, attempting to lead his troops to the city's capital. A contingent of anti-riot police armed with tear gas and water cannons, however, blocked their entry, forcing them to drive in the opposite direction to Uhuru Highway, then to the Kamukunju area. The Azimio convoy then snacked its way into Juja Road, where he addressed the crowd, stating the objective of the mass action.
Bei ya stima irudi chini, bei ya chakula irudi chini, alafu baadaye tupate haki yetu ya uchaguzi, haki ya kiuchaguzi. Wakenya wanataka demokrasia. Polisi hataweza, risasi haitaweza. Kama unataka hii mambo ikome, unga ifanye nini? Unga ifanye nini? Baba mpaka ingia State House ama namna gani? Mko tayari? Maisha imekuwa ngumu, lazima iteremke chini, si ndio? Sasa lazima ifunguliwe ama namna gani?
Raila said the demonstrations will now be held every Monday.
Kila Jumatatu kutakuwa na mgomo, kutakuwa na maandamano. Sawa sawa, vita imeanza. Sawa sawa, haitaisha mpaka Wakenya wapate haki yao. Mko tayari?
Sisi hatubanduki, sisi haturudi nyuma, na hatutakubali maovu itawale Kenya. Tusimame zote pamoja.
Wale viongozi wameshikwa wakapelekwa Kiambu Road kinyume na katiba, waachiliwe mara moja. Wangapi wanasema hivyo?
During the stopovers by the Azimio convoy, several vehicles were stoned. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Well, that story by Washira Gishuki on calls for Azimio to hold demonstrations every Monday from their leadership was voiced by Gladys Mungai. Now, 4 opposition legislators arrested for leading mass protests in the Nairobi Central Business District have been detained at the Kiambu police station. Among those arrested are Senate Minority Leader Stewart Madzayo and his National Assembly counterpart Opio Wandai. They were later released on a cash bail of 50,000 shillings each, awaiting to be charged in court on Thursday. Jackie Wambiru is with that report.
Monday morning in the Nairobi CBD, a standoff ensued between the police officers and protesters as demonstrations called by Azimio la Umoja One Kenya commenced. Police engaged in running battles, lobbing tear gas to disperse protesters across the city. At around 10 a.m. in the morning, a delegation of Azimio MPs led by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna stormed the Kenyatta International Conference Center. The senator and the protesters scampered as tear gas was lobbed, with those who had started gathering outside KICC also taking cover. It is during this time when 4 legislators found themselves among protesters who have been apprehended in efforts to contain the brewing unrest. Among those arrested are Senate Minority Leader Stuart Madzayo, Ugunja Member of Parliament Opiyo Wandayi, Malindi Member of Parliament Amina Mnyazi, and Kilifi Legislator Ken Chonga.
I do not expect they have any grounds to take them to court, but if they take them to court, we are equal to defend the right of association, the right of picketing, and as a lawyer, we will defend the rule of law.
Legal counsel Danson Omari confirmed that the 4 were detained at Kiambu Police Station. After close to 6 hours, the legislators and 2 aides were finally released on a cash bail of 50,000 shillings each and ordered to attend court hearing on Thursday.
We are now leaving Kiambu Police Station after a day full of drama. I want to call it drama because it was totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. Trying to use the police and the judicial system.
I've been in this country for some time, and I know how decent police officers are. But the ones I've seen today, it was shocking.
They will be charged with the offense of having an unlawful meeting.
Of course, that was a report by Jackie Wambiru, but voiced by Gladys Mungai. Security was tight around Nairobi Central Business District for most of Monday as armed police officers stayed put to keep off protesters that were attempting to make their way to the Kenyatta International Convention Center, where Azimio leaders Raila Odinga were expected to address them. Police officers on foot and in several armored vehicles stationed at strategic positions around town beefed up security so that they barred the protesters from accessing the city center. Here's that report.
As early as 6 a.m., heavy police presence was spotted in different parts of the city ahead of Azimio la Umoja Coalition's anticipated march. The security agencies were taking no chances, notably after Azimio leader had threatened to lead a grand march to State House, Nairobi. At Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, police managed to restrain protesters who tried to access the venue from various points. This is the venue where Azimio leader Raila Odinga was to meet his supporters. However, police drawn from the Administration Police and General Service Unit, who were manning the CBD, barricaded several roads, making it difficult for the protesters to make their way here. Leaders affiliated to Azimio la Umoja, led by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, after a consultative meeting at KICC, attempted to meet the charged protesters, but were scattered after police fired tear gas at them. At City Hall Way, armed police in uniform were seen arresting protesters. Even with heavy police presence, many businesses remained closed, and the few that had opened, closing their doors for fear of insecurity. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Prime Edition.
Several people, including a police officer, were injured and others arrested as protesters engaged the anti-riot police officers in running battles in parts of Nairobi, CBD, Ngong Road, and Kibera. At some point, police were forced to shoot in the air to disperse the protesters who kept on regrouping and attempted to lit tires on the roads.
A series of running battles were witnessed on Monday between police officers and civilians in parts of Nairobi CBD, Ngong Road and Kibera. At the bypass linking Ngong Road and Langata Road, daring Azimio protesters pelted police with stones after police blocked them from accessing the central business district to participate in the mass action called by Azimio. The police responded by lobbing tear gas canisters and used water cannons in a bid to disperse the protesters who kept on regrouping. At some point, police were forced to shoot in the air to disperse the protesters who were attempting to lit bonfires on the roads. During the confrontation, several people were injured, including a police officer. In the Kibra area, police blocked roads leading out of the highly populated estate as they engaged protesters in running battles. A number of protesters were flushed out of their hideouts and arrested by police, who mounted a search for the rowdy youth. Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
You're watching Prime Edition, coming to you from Broadcasting House in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for staying with us, and we're taking a short break. We'll be back shortly.
Article 140 of our Constitution states that the Supreme Court shall hear and determine the petition, and its decision is final. Although we may not agree with some of its findings, and despite all the anomalies we have pointed out, our belief in constitutionalism remains supreme. In this regard, I wish the President-elect, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, and his team well.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000. Aulali. Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Over the weekend, the Sky Girls Initiative, a non-profit organization dedicated to empowering teenage girls in Kenya, hosted the biggest exclusive event for teen girls in Nairobi at the Mboya International Sports Center. The month of Francophone was embraced in style right here in the 254 as La Francophonie took up the stage. The month-long series of parties, which is to take place the entire April, will see fans experience the ultimate Kenyan cultural extravaganza.
And the one that is trending at the moment is by Willie Paul. Willie Pose, the baddest, alongside Tanzania's songstress Nandi.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
Have you used the hustler fund?
When your children sleep hungry, when you can borrow 500 or 1,000 shillings and they have some food on the table.
So the 500 you're giving me now is my purchasing power has literally been diminished comparing to probably even January or December.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
In terms of the amount of money that is being disbursed, the minimum being 500 shillings, how do you scorecard that?
No, that I'll give it a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
I'll still give it 5 out of 5.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
What is the impact of the Hustlers Fund?
There are people who borrow praying they don't have to pay back. For example, they pray that the owner dies.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back, our socials at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at Mboya24. Traders in the capital are counting losses after Azimio protests disrupted business operations for the larger part of the day. Business persons say that they could only get in a few hours of trade in the morning before the running battles began in the afternoon, forcing them to close shop. They now want assurance from government that calm will prevail and that normalcy will return by Tuesday. Hibackside reports.
What once was a city buzzing with traders marketing their wares turned into a battleground for protesters and police. The collateral damage: thousands of traders forced to look on in worry from shop windows, unsure of when it will be safe to reopen. Businesses have had to make peace with the losses incurred so far and the irreparable damage caused to a majority of their establishments.
Tunafanyanga kazi tunapata kama faida ya 5,000 na kwa siku ya leo tumepoteza. Pia customers wetu wengine wako kwa bari tunatumianga vitu na kwa siku ya leo pia wao watakuwa stranded kwa sababu hatuwezi fanya, hatuwezi pata hata means ya kutuma.
Hii ni hasara kubwa kwa kila mtu, as a republic, hasara kubwa kwa kila mtu.
Kilichofanya watu wafunge ilikuwa ile mshike. Sasa huwezi fanya biashara katika hiyo hali, ni ngumu sana.
They say by 10 a.m. many of the customers who usually stream in had to run for cover, with some making away with wares and services they had not paid for.
Kwa leo tumepoteza do, seriously do. Kuna customers wameenda na do, wengine tu mwasav, do imepotea. Suddenly vurugu. Tumepika, food inalala hapa.
You can see how it is now in CBD. We are losing business. We are losing a lot. Like today when you can see, we usually operate more than 300 vehicles. But when you see now, there is no vehicles are going to parking, drivers are going to parking. We have no passengers. Today we are going to have a loss.
Walienda na wengine hata wakaenda kama hamjamalizana na wao, wengine hata wakaenda na pesa zetu.
They are grateful that intervention by security personnel contained the damage.
Mimi nimeona wako sawa kwa sababu atisi kama sio wao au vijana wangekuja huku na wangebeba vitu mingi sana zetu za biashara.
They want assurance from the government that a repeat of the same will not occur.
And for the business community, the ongoing riots have caused nothing but insurmountable losses. Their hope that things go back to normal so that they can go back to their daily operations. Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
Let's cross over to the lakeside town of Kisumu, where destruction of property and running battles between police and the opposition supporters characterized the first day of the anti-government demonstrations in that lakeside town city. The United Democratic Alliance UDA office was vandalized and vehicles torched as demonstrations turned chaotic in the lakeside city. Achola Simon was there and he witnessed everything, and he filed this report.
As expected, opposition chief Raila Odinga's supporters in Kisumu County, one of his main political base, turned up in their numbers for the first anti-government demonstrations. It was all peaceful until mid-morning when the locals attempted to storm Kisumu State Lodge. They were quickly repulsed by a police contingent that was on guard. Shortly after, the demonstrations turned chaotic as the protesters ran amok. Windows to Sarova Imperial Hotel, Naivas Supermarket and Quickmart were shattered and at least 3 small shops looted. A local leisure joint suspected to have ties with Langata legislator Felix Oduor was also looted in the ensuing melee. UDA county office was vandalized and several vehicles in its compound torched. Kisumu County Governor Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o has condemned the hooliganism witnessed. In a statement to media houses, Nyong'o claimed the rowdy youths involved in looting and destruction of property were hired goons who infiltrated the opposition supporters carrying out peaceful demonstrations. He wants the police to carry out thorough investigations and bring those involved to book, even as he challenged opposition supporters to remain vigilant and arrest those involved in looting next time. Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
Let's now take you to the coastal town of Mombasa, where Mombasa Central District and its environs was calm, with shops and markets remaining open on the first day of the Azimio la Umoja anti-government protests. Retail shops, supermarkets and restaurants as well remained operational, with residents going on with their usual business. Here's that report.
The Mombasa town remained busy all day long with no picketing witnessed in the area. Locals blaming the opposition for what they claimed is sabotaging the economy, which is slowly picking up after prolonged electioneering period last year.
Huku Mombasa tujaona maandamano, lakini tunafuatilizia, tunaona kule Nairobi watu wanakimbia huku na huku wakifukuzana na mapolisi wanafanya maandamano. Sisi pia tumekaribisha hiyo maandamano huku Mombasa, lakini ya amani, si ya kumbizana kama ya Nairobi. Sisi hatutaki fujo.
Tuombe Mwenyezi Mungu atujalie nchi yetu siku moja tusije tukakuwa kama vile Syria, Sudan, Kongo. Ni jambo lingine ambalo ni hatari katika maisha na tusitarajie katika nchi yetu.
Wananchi wanatembea kama kawaida yao. So tunamshukuru Mungu kwa sababu ingelikuwa ni kama hapo zamani, ingekuwa sahi hapa hatukai. Lakini kwa sababu Mungu yuko pamoja na sisi, naona tuna amani, tunaendelesha biashara zetu kama kawaida yetu.
Mimi ni mfanyakazi hapa Mbetari Kobil, napakia gari za kwenda Taita. Tulikuwa tunatarajia maandamano Mombasa, lakini tushukuru alhamdulillah, Mungu ni mkubwa, kwetu kuko kama. Yani tuko fine, thank you.
Others called on those participating in demonstrations to maintain peace and respect the rule of law.
Kuna tiketi zimepandishwa, tuktuku ni shilingi 50 vile vile kutoka kituo kimoja hadi kingine. Kwa hivyo nahisi kwamba Wakenya hasa upande huu wa Mombasa na pwani kwa jumla wameimarika kidemokrasia na wanatambua vipi wanaweza labda kupata haki zao bila kuingia barabarani, licha ya kwamba kinara wa Azimio alikuwa katika eneo hili weekendi kuweza kusukuma watu angalau kama wangefanya maandamano. Lakini wengi ukiwauliza mbona hamuandamani, wanasema naweza kwa nikavunjika mguu, labda chakula kisishuke bei, na vile vile maisha yangu yakawa magumu. Kwa hivyo nafikiri jambo ambalo limefurahisha tangu baada ya uchaguzi ni kwamba watu waliamua kuwa kimya, kutulia kwa sababu ya ile madhara ambayo waliyaona wakati wa COVID-19.
Normalcy has been experienced in the tourist resort city of Mombasa for the better part of the day, with Kenyans carrying on with their daily businesses. Michael Moniga for Prime Edition, Mombasa County.
And do you know what? Also in Migori and Kakamega counties, business was disrupted in various parts of those two counties as Azimio allied supporters engaged the Kenya police in running battles, business and public transport services coming to a standstill as police barricaded major roads leading into the central business district. Here's that report.
Pia baba anasema yeye pia anaumia juu ya uchumi. Sisi tunataka hii mambo ya uchumi irudi chini, Ruta tufunguzie kila kitu irudi chini, na akimaliza hakuna maandamano yenye tutafanya.
Nataka nimuulize leo Boige, kama high cost of living ni sheria inakubali high cost of living?
Uchumi ni gumu, hata kuna Kenya tunaweza fanya, hata Kenya tunaweza pika hakuna. Lazima tuende maandamano tutafute right yetu.
Niambia unga itashuka, itakuwa shilingi 70. Nimenunulia unga saa hii shilingi 250. Akaniambia CPC inatoka. Saa hii CPC kila nikirudi nyumbani napata mtoto iko nyumbani.
Tunaumia sisi wananchi. Gharama iko juu. Maandamano yaendelea, asirudi nyuma.
Ruto alikuwa kwa serikali ile iliisha. Raila alikuwa kwa ile serikali iliisha. Ni nini yenye wanataka kufanya yenye hawakufanya?
Ninge kwa maandamano, lakini ile maisha imekuwa gharama, hata ile fare ya kuingia town imekuwa ni shida.
Sasa tumeomba hii president wetu aangalie juu ya hii uchumi, arudishe chini.
Expect all of us to maintain peace, to maintain harmony, to maintain that cohesion.
Issue ya chakula imekuwa na effect, imetoka kwa ukosefu wa mvua, na tukiona mvua ikiendelea kunyesha chakula yenyewe itateremka automatically.
Tunasema unga iko juu, but compared na wakati wa hardship, mimi sioni ikiwa juu, iko chini. Gas tulikuwa tunanunua 1500, saa hii inatoka 1100.
Tangu 2008 when we had a problem here, we will never repeat, and we have been talking and we've been talking peace.
Maandamano ni haki ya kikatiba. Sisi hatukatai, ni haki ya kikatiba. Lakini pia wasisome katiba sehemu ama vipengee moja moja na kuacha sehemu ambazo sinahitaji wawajibike katika hiyo maandamano.
Nataka kuambia Raila hivi, sisi tumechoka.
Particular demonstration is a systematic arrangement orchestrated to divert the attentions of Kenyans from understanding the cause and the who's of all these problems we are going through.
If we continue at this rate, that now we are chasing away investors, we are chasing away the tourists, where are we going to get money to recover our economy?
Unajua siku hizi wateja wanatulipa na simu sana. Na hiyo si shida, hiyo ni poa sana by the way. Lakini sasa shida inatokea, wengine wetu wanachukua hizo namba za wateja, alafu wanaanza kugawana huku nje kama njugu. Bana, inatuharibia kazi.
In this digital era, it's normal to collect information for your client. But if you're collecting information for the client, it's important that you secure it and use it for the intended purpose.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na ofisi ya Data Protection Commissioner.
Nini? Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000. Aulali. Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Life is about balance. About give and take. And forests give us so much. They purify our water. They clean our air. They fight climate change by capturing carbon. They give us food, life-saving medicines, and they improve our well-being. But our forests are vulnerable. They are endangered by fires, pests, droughts, and other threats. That is why we need to look after them. We need to give, not only take. Healthy forests for healthy people.
Welcome back to KBC. Our channels at KBC Channel 1 and my Twitter handle at Mboya24. Now, business was brought to a standstill along Marigat Chemolingot Road after locals blocked the busy highway road to protest increased cases of banditry attacks. The move disrupted transport activities along the road, affecting essential services, including those of Red Cross, ambulance, and also the non-governmental World Vision. Vehicles carrying school-going children heading to Tiati constituency were also trapped for several hours. Deputy Inspector of Police Noor Gabo, who was caught up in that demonstration, was also forced to address the angry residents. Earlier on today, by the way, bandits attacked Nusukuru Makutani in Baringo South, and unfortunately one person was injured. He is currently receiving treatment at the Marigat Sub-County Hospital.
Utatoa hiyo wakora, mkae usalama, na sisi serikali tuko hapa kuanzia wiki moja. Niko hapa na mimi niko hapa, siwezi ondoka hapa.
Kila siku kazi yetu ni kuzunguka na kusema pole. Tunataka maneno ya pole ikome, ishe. Nataka ikome kabisa. Hatutaka tuwe tukirudia kila siku tukusema pole pole.
Rais umejaribu ya kutosha. Tunataka tuseme ya kwamba kuja utusaidie.
Wamama wanasaa msituni, watoto wanalala msituni, shule hakuna, watu wanakufa. Mtu mwingine na wawa leo na peleko Kabarnet. kesho mwingine.
Constitution of Kenya 2010 recognizes various parties in the country's political system. Article 10 of the Constitution sets out the principles of governance, which include democracy, participation of the people, and also accountability of those that are in power. Tonight, we are looking at the role of Kenya's opposition as spelt out in the Constitution in upholding some of these principles, even through things like protests.
March 2023, the opposition led by its leader Raila Odinga staged mass protests across the country to push the government to lower the cost of living and taxes on some commodities. The opposition, claiming the withdrawal of subsidies for food, fuel and education, escalated the suffering of Kenyans. But what does the law say about picketing and the opposition's role? Article 153 of the Constitution establishes the office of the leader of the official opposition. The leader of the party or coalition of parties that has the second highest number of members in the National Assembly is recognized as the leader of the official opposition. But what about when it comes to protests? Article 37, Section 1, Part B stipulates, however, that any assembly, demonstration, picketing or petitioning must be peaceful and unarmed. This means that protesters must refrain from violence, destruction of property, or any other behavior that may cause harm or infringe on the rights of others. In addition, Article 37, Section 2 states that the right to assemble and demonstrate shall not extend to any person who is not a citizen, or to any assembly or demonstration that is intended to cause a breach of the peace, or that threatens public safety, public order, public morality, or national security. The Public Order Act also requires organizers to notify the police of their intent to hold a demonstration at least 3 days prior to the planned event. The police may then either grant or deny permission for the demonstration and may impose certain conditions to ensure public safety and order. In summary, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 recognizes the important role of the opposition in promoting democracy, accountability and good governance. The opposition is recognized as an essential part of the political system with a clear mandate to hold the government accountable, propose alternative policies and participate in the governance of the country. Alan Oko, Prime Edition.
Now, here's the thing. The nationwide protests that were organized by the opposition in Kenya, they coincided with other protests around the continent of Africa, 3 other African countries. As in Kenya, the protests in South Africa, Tunisia, and Nigeria were fueled by claims of electoral justice and also growing dissatisfaction with how the regime in power was running the affairs of those countries. Nduta Mokami with the details.
Kenya's opposition leader Raila Odinga led a convoy of vehicles across residential estates after police blocked access to Nairobi's central business district. The veteran politician has been making stops at various centers to address his supporters who have been demonstrating since morning. Odinga called the anti-government protests, accusing the authorities of failing to address the rising cost of living. Meanwhile, thousands marched through the streets of South Africa's cities to demand that President Cyril Ramaphosa resign, as security forces guarded malls and roads to prevent violence and looting. Several journalists working for South Africa's public broadcaster, SABC TV, have been attacked while covering opposition protests in Cape Town. Reports by local media note that the incident occurred in the early morning hours as the crew was filming visuals of the protests. One of the journalists has been hospitalized with head injuries, local media said, describing the incident as traumatic. Elsewhere, protests in Tunisia's capital Tunis have been ongoing to pressure the government over the alleged authoritarian rule by President Kais Saied. Thousands of opposition supporters, including members of the Tunisian General Labor Union, have been rallying in the capital of Tunis. And finally, Nigeria's opposition outfit, the People's Democratic Party, led by its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, has amassed protests over alleged electoral fraud. Supporters who caused traffic jams in parts of Abuja also carried placards with inscriptions, "We say no to justice and fraud, and no more cheating." Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
Let's now move away from those protests. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says that the government is banking on a public-private partnership to expand the ports of Mombasa as well as Lamu. Addressing French business community members who visited the port, the Deputy President said that they are seeking to make Mombasa Port a regional entry point through modernization and also expansion investments.
The government has assured investors of increased efficiency at the port of Mombasa as it seeks to make the port a regional entry point. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has asked the new Kenya Ports Authority Board management to prioritize modernization of the port to attract more business.
And we are challenging the new management to even do much better and to make this port the destination of choice in the African continent, so that anybody who wants to do business, to bring goods anywhere in Africa, finds the port of Mombasa as the destination of choice. Ours as a government is to assure the new management and the managing director of our support. We'll support you, whatever changes you want to make, whatever programs that you have in terms of seeking out projects on public-private partnership, you have the support of our government.
The government says it is seeking increased public-private partnerships to expand the ports in the country, including the port of Mombasa, to give them a competitive edge over regional ports.
The Ruto administration has created a good environment for business. We have instructed our officers across government to do away with red tape and bureaucracy and make it easy to do business in this country. We have made very serious reforms in this port of Mombasa. We have put in a new board of directors to inject fresh ideas, passion and energy into the affairs of this port.
Gachagua asked that Kenya is seeking to tap into the African markets to increase volumes at the port of Mombasa.
We want this port to be very efficient, and we want to increase the volume of business so that eventually we can also increase the number of people employed in this port.
Players called for more investments in key infrastructure to ease movement of goods from ports to the hinterland. Benson Druba reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, while he headed the Ministry of Finance, he made it compulsory for manufacturers of tobacco products to print a health warning, the one you see on your cigarette pack for those who smoke. This week on the Cabinet, we take a look at Ata Kinyanjui Magugu, who served in President Daniel Toroitich's cabinet.
Arthur Kinyanjui Magugu joined politics at the age of 35. In 1969, he took everyone by surprise when he ousted former Githunguri Member of Parliament and vocal freedom fighter Waira Wakamau. In 1974, he was appointed Assistant Minister for Health in the administration of President Jomo Kenyatta. Later on, he served as an Assistant Minister in the Ministry of Finance. In 1979, Magugu beat former diplomat and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, Josephat Karanja, for the Githunguri parliamentary seat. In 1979, President Mboya appointed him to head the Ministry of Health. He made it compulsory for manufacturers of tobacco products to print a health warning on cigarette packs. He is also credited with enforcing the landmark ban on smoking in public spaces. In the 1983 snap general election, Magugu was elected Githunguri Member of Parliament and was appointed Minister for Finance. Later, he served as Minister for Transport. Magugu remained in KANU even after the country returned to a multi-party system. After his appointment to head the Finance Ministry, he appeared to have slowed his role as he rarely attended parliamentary sessions, and to a point members of parliament raised queries about his prolonged absence. In 1983, he made history when he postponed the reading of the budget by a week. He didn't step into the parliamentary chambers until he shifted his political base to Mathare constituency in Nairobi during a by-election in 1986, following the self-exile of area Member of Parliament Andrew Kimani Ngumba. Magugu's tenure as Member of Parliament for Githunguri ran from 1979 to 1986. It is in 1992 when he was eased out of active politics during the multi-party elections. He would, however, be re-elected on a KANU ticket in 2002 as Member of Parliament for Githunguri. However, Magugu's health was deteriorating, and after the swearing-in ceremony, he was unable to attend any other session of Parliament. As Member of Parliament for Githunguri and Mathare between 1979 and 1992, Magugu spearheaded several development projects, including the building and rehabilitation of roads and schools. His 2002 to 2007 term fell short of his previous development record, mainly because he was ailing. Magugu died in September 2012. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet.
Well, golf, rugby, the rough game, but played with gentlemen. Football or soccer, depending on which part of the world you come from. And tennis. Daniel Wahome is our man. He's in charge of Sports Docket shortly. Stay with us.
Take on Tech, a weekly program that brings you technological debates and concepts. Let us assume we have a young innovator who has come up with an app.
Financial technology and financial services is a very complex game.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news both locally and internationally. Apple has lost its position as the most valuable firm amid tech sell-off. We also explore different innovations by our very own young innovators. Make sure you don't miss. Tune in every Monday at 10:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Message. Nimesikia tu fununu kwamba hii Seldigan by usiku haitakuwepo.
Sikiza. Na nikamdosia nikasirika kwa vita vitumikaza mguu kidogo, sawa?
Ibuchi kamera za border crossing point zote sahi.
Ati?
Kamera za border crossing point zote sahi.
Tumechezwa.
Roll out! Move! Huyu jamaa unaona kiwa credible kweli?
Tuta find out soon.
Over the weekend, the Sky Girls Initiative, a non-profit organization dedicated to empowering teenage girls in Kenya, hosted the biggest exclusive event for teen girls in Nairobi at the Mboya International Sports Center. The month of Francophone was embraced in style right here in the 254 as La Francophonie took up the stage. The month-long series of parties, which is to take place the entire April, will see fans experience the ultimate Kenyan cultural extravaganza.
And the one that is trending at the moment is by Willie Paul. Willie Pose, the baddest alongside Tanzania's songstress Nandi. Yani hawa watu wawili
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Rahome. Let's get the sport. The annual Mboya Open Golf Tournament will tee off this weekend.
No popular support, especially not now. Already the presidential election showed that he had no majority in the country and he had no clear majority in the Assemblée Nationale now. And all this sequence on the pension plan reform has showed also that people are ready to demonstrate against the way he governs and against the project he is trying to push. So this decision of Elizabeth Borne to stay in place, to not change, so they're not changing the government apparently, they're just pushing forward. This is also what explains that people like Charles de Courson, who has not at all the same political line as the NUPES, economically or on many subjects they are opposed. But what he understood, and what we all understood when we promoted this non-confidence vote, is that there's something very deep happening here. Our institutions, our democratic institutions, are being harmed, and this.
Over the weekend, the Sky Girls Initiative, a non-profit organization dedicated to empowering teenage girls in Kenya, hosted the biggest exclusive event for teen girls in Nairobi at the Mboya International Sports Center. The month of Francophone was embraced in style right here in the 254 as La Francophonie took up the stage. The month-long series of parties, which is to take place the entire April, will see fans experience the ultimate Kenyan cultural extravaganza.
And the one that is trending at the moment is by Willie Paul. Willie Pose, the baddest alongside Tanzania's songstress.
Apologize for that technical hitch. Let's get on to the sport, where the annual Mboya Open Golf Tournament will tee off this weekend at the Mboya Golf Club. The tournament is the third Kenya Amateur Golf Championship Series event and will feature top amateurs, professionals, juniors and lady golfers. Leading the pack at Mboya is the reigning Sigona Bowl and Windsor Classic champion Michael Karanga. He will face competition from John Lejirma and veteran John Getonga, among other elite golfers. In the ladies' side, we've got Naomi Wafula, Joyce Wanjiro, Chanel Wangari, and Belinda Wanjiro, who will battle with 6 other ladies for the top honors. The Junior Golf Foundation is preparing for the All-Africa Junior Team Championship to be hosted in Uganda between the 15th and the 21st of April, and has also signed up 15 juniors who are going to be part of the squad that are going to participate at the event. The top amateur will pocket 130,000 shillings, which is the maximum set by the Royal and Ancient, which is the golf governing body for amateur golfers. The equivalent is $1,000.
Essentially a post-fascist party. So I think that
Now, Mboya University emerged victorious in the Rift Valley Nationwide Rugby Finals with a hard-fought 27-20 win over Kitale Rugby Club at the Mboya University main campus grounds. After a closely contested first, the match went into the breather with Mboya University leading 17-3. In the second half, Kitale Rugby Club scored 2 tries and a drop goal, while Mboya University responded with a last-minute try. With this victory, Mboya University advanced to the championship quarterfinals, where they will face Kilifi. Kitale Rugby Club, on the other hand, will host Kibabii University in the championship pre-quarterfinals.
Corner, Pereira.
And reached the FA Cup semi-finals with a controversial victory at Old Trafford. United